Especially at the retreat, I forget, and then you tell somebody on the street about you, they go, wait a minute. I found people in the grocery store and they bow that. Well, that's why I live in Sebastopol. Let's start. And we'll go around, everybody say. And then I'll call out the people, but you can't hear us very well? Can't, the mic. Close it. Push the mic. Can you hear me now? And I'll talk louder. And you guys will remind you.
They
to
said
talk louder.
thumbs up.
Yeah, good. Okay, Chris.
Rachel, Myra,
Susan.
Kyle,
Sherry,
Laura,
Julie,
Ruth,
Beth,
Julia, Mimi,
Kristen,
Morgan,
Nancy.
Nicole.
Oh, God, excuse me.
And Susan Spencer, Judith, Joe, Patty, Gretchen, who's not here, who's gonna be our two so. Laura, Marilyn, Ann, Sally, Leslie, Ariel, and Sue Ann. Let's see, so. We have been, I'm not doing the before election chant because this isn't a formal election, that's where I am stopping or hesitating. We have been focusing on last week, this week, the Zen way of recovery, an illuminated path out of the darkness of addiction. Laura Burgess was one of, as far as I know, one of the founding people, one of the first people to integrate the path of Buddhism and AA and San Francisco Zen Center is, I mean, I'm sure it was happening in many places around the country, but she was of it in many ways. She's very disclosing in her book, as is Seer. I read from her last week about eating disorder. It's very vulnerable. We never used to talk about or expose these things. We just all, and then I think it's so easy to do projection. You know, it's like, oh, that's a person who's been around for a long time. They must have it really together. That's why it's so cool that we have two senior people sitting up here willing to be vulnerable with us. We're all human beings, waking up to be human beings. We are all, I mean, to be full human beings. We're all conditioned. We all come from a past. We all come from a family system. We all come from a culture. We all come from genetics and things that were modeled for us. And in some place along the way, something in us says, in one way or another, I think this is suffering. I mean, I didn't know it was suffering. It took me about 10 years to realize that I was, I didn't know what brought me to this practice, but finally I went, oh, I think it was suffering. I knew it was generic suffering. I wasn't quite so sure that it had to do with my particular suffering. It takes a while for some of us to get close to our particular suffering. It's out there, but that's nice. Because in some ways, that suffering out there, all those poor people out there, help us come home to ourselves, and then we realize that we're all in the same boat in one way or another. Backing up a couple of announcements, September 8th, next Sunday, I think, is a sitting and a jukai. All people in one way, a first noble truth, there's suffering. There's a cause of suffering. There's a path of awakening, and there is practice. Buddha had it. Very simple, very clear. So 6 people will be taking their bodhisattva vows. And then we are moving into practice period. I hope you all got the announcement. We're doing it a little differently this year. We're not gonna send out the application until the day after the Jukai, because I don't want to get everybody all confused and what's together, so, but the applications are coming and we're gonna focus on the Lojong practices. To ancient Tibetan practices, which again, I love that. This isn't just us, this is people across time and space, are people. And the practices, the Lojong sayings are just completely right for whatever time and space and body and conditioning that you got and will get and have. And as we wake up, we help everybody else wake up and everybody else is helping us wake up. So I wanted to read something from Laura's book to start us off. I also want to say and reiterate confidentiality. Is anything you hear today stays here. You can talk in generic terms, you know, well, in Sangha, we're talking about waking up. Addiction, substances, food, and I will add that next week, we're gonna start using Zen koans to help us wake us up around climate. Fire runs through all things, and it occurred to me, and I think it had occurred to me, it's just one more addiction in a certain way. I mean, consumerism and all of our beliefs about what we need and what we think or don't think about the earth and our relationship with our bodies and birdsong and availability to be alive and be human. So it feels like a good place to jump off from. This is personal, and climate crisis is personal, and it's so clear. It's not personal, it's all of us and the earth. So we're not going to record the talks. We're just recording this part of it because I want to call forth Laura's voice. Chapter 14, Erroneous Imagination. When we loosen the grip of our self-centered, self-created suffering, self-centered suffering, our flowing, flexible, big mind is able to shine forth. Perhaps our most pervasive, erroneous imagination is I am alone, a stranded individual in my own tiny boat. Actually, we are deeply connected to all things and all beings. Each person we encounter becomes part of our mind body through the 5 senses that literally bring them inside us. Perhaps we would treat each other differently and would feel more at home in the world if we kept in mind the Buddha's notion that each person we meet was a mother in another lifetime. Westerners have a little more trouble with that one. Tibet, they revere their mothers. Here it's more complicated, but. And then she talks about an erroneous imagination that she entertained for years was the idea that she could drink like other people. Until I awakened to the truth that even one drink is too many and that 1,000 aren't enough, I was powerless over alcohol and its consequences. Fear is often an erroneous imagination. Always study fear. I remember Jack Kornfield saying years ago, I mean, probably said it since, but it's when it went into me, is that the human body is a fear body. It's like we're afraid, as she says, of the future. Worst case scenarios just pop up. We fear the past and forms of regret and thinking we can never undo the harm we have done, that we have warped our lives. We fear that we have created problems in the past that we can't begin to unravel. When we are trapped in this fearful state of mind, we don't notice that we have abandoned the present moment. Study fear. Study the fear body with compassion. With, I mean, if we didn't have a fear body, the human race wouldn't be here. The lion would have eaten all of us. But something else has happened here. That, finally, we sit down. Or we go to an AA, it's Laura really says, and I will say. We used to say Zazen or think, or subtly teach Zazen will cover everything. You know what? Therapy, AA, Qigong, it's like, pay attention. Zazen gives us the ground to wake up in. It's so beautiful. It gives us ancient teachings that normalize our confusion and normalize our Buddha nature. And as Laura says, Zazen is literally practice for understanding impermanence. As I watch my breath come and go and watch feelings and thoughts come and go, I can see that even a difficult emotion like fear is not solid or never ending. Each moment arises and passes away, as do all things. If I can surrender to this moment rather than living always in the past or the future, I can be more fully alive and more fully myself. We want to be present for this moment because this is it. This is it. This is life itself. It's a journey to be alive. It's a journey to even want to be alive for some parts of us. It's like, are you kidding? I'm not gonna show up here. It's scary. I can feel all awful things could happen. But some part of us, our biggest Buddha nature part is, yes, alive, here. And we each have great imaginations that we can imagine everybody else is maybe a Buddha. No, actually, we mostly think other people are all spirit. Anyway. We are co-creating the world with our imaginations, and we come here to affirm in Sangha that we are Buddhas, and that we all have Bodhisattva nature, and that we have brave people in the Sangha who are here to tell you they are human and we know them. They're also Buddhas. So having said that, 10 minutes, and then you're gonna have to stop on the dime and I'll,
Like a little pegs.
yeah,
I
it's-
find about 5.
yeah, so I'll give a 5 minute. I'll just set this